What would be your take? Is C becoming the next cybersecurity hub, or we are still outsourcing there and just using the talent?
So there are a lot of really technical guys, but what we have seen the last couple of years that a lot of brain drain unfortunately happens, especially to US, of course. So we have the best people, but normally just the people who are not studying in Europe know how good our education is, but normally at the technical universities, nobody will tell you you have the same curriculum like MIT.
Regarding this?
Not on the money side, because right now some of our employees, they will get a check about $250,000 plus signing bonus $150,000 plus full expenses paid to migrate to the US.
So we need to be much more efficient. It has positives. Typically, European companies are much leaner, much more focused on the actual problem of the customer. But on the other hand, a little bit less visionary. We need to do it more smartly, because of course our competitors currently are typically about 100 times or 200 times bigger. So that's a bit of a challenge. And especially in the beginning, it was quite complicated, because we handle really sensitive topics like payment approvals, access to banking systems. If I was starting the same company today, it would be quite impossible to convince somebody to buy something from the Czech company with 3 people, for example, which is so sensitive.
But different experience from Austrian company, we never have this. we have offers or drafts for proposals worldwide, and this is never a question. Maybe this is really different from Austria.
Yeah, and we would love to invest in companies that lead in their field in DACH and Central and Eastern Europe and help them to grow internationally.
Hello, Recursive community. Welcome back to the Recursive Roundtable. Today we are in Vienna and we're hosted by Elevator Ventures. We'll discuss the topic of cybersecurity in CE, DACH, and in general in Europe. I would like to say welcome to our guests and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, maybe starting with our host, Maximilian from Elevator Ventures.
Hi, and welcome also from my side. Happy to have you all here in our offices. Elevator Ventures is the venture capital arm of Raiffeisen Bank International. We are investing since 2019 in Series A rounds, mainly in DACH and Central and Eastern Europe. We have invested a little more than 60 million euros by now. We are, of course, among other topics, also looking at the cybersecurity topic. Hence, I'm very much looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my name is Petr Dvořák. I'm CEO and founder of Vultra, which is a cybersecurity company focused on digital identity. Specifically, we are protecting digital identity from quantum threats, primarily in banking, finance, and other highly regulated industries.
My name is René Heinzel. I'm CTO of Cybertrap. I did my PhD a long time ago in semiconductor physics, but then I switched to AI in 2015 before this hype started. And right now, my team and I are developing an AI-assisted SOC, where our own AI, this is a development from Technical University of Vienna and University of Oxford, can fully defend against these AI threats and all different types of cybersecurity attacks.
It's exactly 1 year ago when we launched our cybersecurity and defense reports, mapping the companies that develop cyber product in Central and Eastern Europe. We know there is a strong technical talent in the region, but what would be your take? Is CE becoming the next cybersecurity hub, or we are still outsourcing there and just using the talent?
From my perspective, I think cybersecurity has some historical successes in the region. I mean, Peter Vultra from Czech Republic with Avast and with some other examples, has already a history in cybersecurity. And as always, if you have success stories and companies that made it to a certain size, you will have experience, talent, know-how that can actually help found the topic. And I think we can see that with cybersecurity in Central and Eastern Europe.
And also cybersecurity is really one of the more technical areas. So typically the benefits of or the strong sides of the Czech companies, Czech founders, are technical competency, which are the best reflected in something like cybersecurity. We are not really good at launching consumer-oriented products because these are primarily about go-to-market. Whenever a product is about technology, some deep knowledge, then we excel. I think that what kind of limits a Central European ecosystem would be maybe the fragmentation, sizes of the individual markets, things like that. But the talent is definitely there.
From your perspective?
I also think that we have a lot of talented people right now from Technical University of Vienna and also Graz and Linz, the Competence Center of Hagenberg. They are quite really great people. I think yesterday Mistral bought an AI company from Linz. So there are a lot of really technical guys, but what we have seen the last couple of years that a lot of brain drain unfortunately happens, especially to US, of course. And so we have this brain drain and we have to do something also in the venture business that we can create companies, which also is an opportunity for young people that they do not have to go to the US. But because normally I was 2 years at Intel in America, normally you will not go back to Europe because you started your family and all your career in a company. And right now I think we have to focus from the company side and also from a government side, that we keep our people, which are really well educated in Europe. And then we can start to build these companies. And then as a Series A, I think especially Series A and Series B is quite underfunded in Europe. As soon as you have revenue and you have your team, normally then you have to go to UK or to the US for the Series B or for the next rounds to really grow. I think we can also see this in Mistral, one of the largest AI companies in Europe. They are really struggling right now also with the investment part because it is really expensive to scale AI up, and you need hardware, you need talented people, and you need a lot of money. And I think the combination right now, if you do not stop this brain drain, I think a lot of people have left, and the companies will not grow that strong in the next.
Can we compete with the US?
Yeah, of course. I think one of the stories I'm always telling my students at TU Wien, I was at MIT and Stanford, and this is exactly the same curriculum what the MIT or Stanford has, like the Technical University of Vienna or Graz. So we have the best people, but normally just the people who are not studying in Europe know how good our education is. But normally at the technical universities, nobody will tell you you have the same curriculum like MIT. You have the same knowledge if you have a PhD or it was called Diplom Ingenieur. Right now it's a Master of Science. It's the exact same knowledge and skills you have like in the US.
Yeah, but that's the thing. How do we keep our people here? Yeah. Can we compete with the US regarding this?
Not on the money side, because right now some of our employees, they will get a check about $250,000 plus signing bonus $150,000 plus full expenses paid to migrate to the US. So on this side, we cannot compete. So we have to generate like Vienna or other really beautiful cities in Europe, that we also show them how beautiful and nice it is to live here. Because on the money side, we cannot compete.
Yeah. And also on the from the company perspective, my opinion was kind of shifting as the company grew, because in a pre-seed stage or seed stage, it was actually quite easy to get funding, because there is a lot of VC funds that are able to write $500,000 or up to €2 million checks. But then as you grow to Series A, Series B, it's getting more complicated. In the US, you have much easier access to capital, and typically rounds are much bigger from the get-go. If I look at pre-seed investments from the US that I noticed, they are, I don't know, 8 to 10 million euros without a product, without significant validation, right? Which is basically a Series A in Europe. So we need to be much more efficient. It has positives. Typically, European companies are much leaner, much more focused in the actual problem of the customer, but on the other hand, a little bit less visionary in the sense that they just do not work by just trying random stuff, which might eventually work out. They always need to have some grounding in reality, in local market demands and so on, which of course presents some constraints. So it's not only about education, it's about access to capital, it's about regulatory environment. In Europe it's significantly more complicated to move forward fast because you have to comply with everything from relatively small size. There is definitely a complication in the fragmentation of the European market. We have to localize for every market where we want to go, which is effort on its own. In the US, it's definitely easier. It's a large market, fairly homogeneous in terms of language and culture. Up until recently, there was strong American monoculture, which is now slightly challenged, but it was quite easy to launch in San Francisco and scale across the United States after the initial success.
I do think that there are steps set in the right direction. The concept of the EU Inc. That might change quite a bit the regulatory burdens. At least we do hope so. The scale-up funding that is currently being set up and also already distributed to larger funds by the European Union. These are all steps in the right direction. Also, I think that corporates should play a bigger role. They have a role in the innovation ecosystem. We have way too little involvement of corporates in Europe in the startup ecosystem. I think we do our small part, but we try to play a role, and we try to get funding into the Series A and B that you said, like you said, in Czech Republic, in Central and Eastern Europe, in other markets, and I think corporates also play not only a funding role but also a role in trying that, giving some credibility to startups by trying things out, and then maybe supporting to roll them out. And support them to actually jump over these hurdles of fragmented markets. So what I can see with the RBI group, Raiffeisen being present in most of the countries in Central and Eastern Europe, the corporates can play a big role in supporting this internationalization for startups. And then if you think, begin with the end in mind, at some point, if it's not an IPO, it most of the time is a strategic acquisition, right? At some point at the end of a startup journey. And these strategic acquirers most often come from the US today. Exactly. And if we want to keep the talent here in Europe, if we want to keep the technology here in Europe, then hopefully also corporates from Europe in the future will be, closer to the ecosystem, and then also be in the position to do the one or the other acquisition, which is also again funneling back money into the ecosystem.
Yeah. Plus, I think it's all about perceptions which are shifting. I mean, a couple of years back, it was kind of obvious that if you want to start a startup with some success, you have to go to the US and you have to go to San Francisco. I think that currently this is shifting. I think that it all becomes much more leveled in terms of opportunity. It is actually now possible to start a startup in Europe and succeed. There are some really good examples. I would say that the geopolitics play a major role today. There is a big discussion about European digital sovereignty, which especially in cybersecurity will have impact. I mean, looking at efforts like European Office, that's not very realistic. Everybody will be probably using Microsoft Office and Microsoft Office Suite or Google Office. But the cybersecurity has slightly different angle to it. It's a strategic asset. Having a cybersecurity company with internal know-how which is localized is critical for national and European security. And the outcome of this entire geopolitical turmoil will be that organizations will start evaluating geopolitical risk of cybersecurity providers. Imagine buying Kaspersky software today in Europe. Like, not going to happen. It would be quite unexpected. It can, it will not be as severe in, with US cybersecurity software, of course, but at least organizations will be thinking about what happens if somebody decides to switch it off, for example, or stop updating it, or introduce a backdoor, things like that.
Yeah, I think this is a really good topic, because in Europe, we are really dependent on cloud provider from the US, and cybersecurity is on the edge. Normally, a company, if they are already in the cloud, they should not also put the cybersecurity part, like Microsoft or some other software, also in this cloud, because as we have seen in the last couple of months, this could be switched off and you cannot do anything about this. I think especially in the security and also in the cybersecurity space, we have to see a road where we can do this ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's the US, then there's South America, but they don't also have no AI business something, and then we have China, and we're in between. Mm-hmm. So I think these two options are not really viable options to have, our security and cybersecurity. I think in the security space, we already have seen that we have to change, also in Austria. I think the investments in the security space, like the Bundeswehr, I think in the last 30 years was the first major investment in Austria and also in Europe. I think we understand that security cannot be outsourced, and especially cybersecurity cannot be on the cloud of a US provider. So we have to have our own cloud system, and then we have our own cybersecurity defense systems. I think this is paramount, that we understand this is a part where we have to have our own in Europe.
In this bipolar or maybe slightly multipolar world that we are living in today, where do you see yourselves as a European cybersecurity companies in, for example, in Asian markets or in the Arabic markets? Do we have do European cybersecurity companies maybe even have an advantage over others?
Well, I think that currently this is definitely the case. We actually see some increased demand for European products. I think that the market eventually, the trade will not stop. So European companies will be still able to export kind of everywhere. It will be just more scrutinized if there is too much maybe dependency on European software or so. We are quite successful in Southeast Asia. We have actually a branch in Singapore, so we are like locally servicing clients in ASEAN region. We are quite successful in MENA, where European cybersecurity and European products in general have pretty good reputation. And it is actually quite easy to deliver there. So, I see it quite positively. I think that from European company standpoint, the market is wide open everywhere.
Yeah, I think so too. We are not in the Asian market, but right now in South America, we have military from Colombia and also Argentina, and the drafts for proposal or something normally requires this is not an US company already. So I think it's one of the major advantages because we have a really good relationships from Europe to South America. And right now they have seen that the Americans with the trade agreements and a lot of tariffs and the US is increasing all these prices enormously. So right now I think we have, last year we did a tour from Colombia, Peru, Argentina up to Brazil, and everywhere was the same. From government, military, and right now we already have military customers from South America. This was one of the major points from we are a European country. We have an on-premise solutions because in cybersecurity, as I talked before, we cannot keep in cloud business or in US cloud cloud business. You have to have an on-premise solution for cybersecurity, and this is what we experience in South America, one of the major advantages there.
Coming back to the European topic and that we are not ready for cyber threats, that was one of the insights we are hearing more and more also coming out of our report. You mentioned E-Wing and this aim to make Europe more interconnected, but it's met with a lot of criticism. So what are the practical steps in order to achieve this cybersecurity autonomy and really to have working cybersecurity companies in Europe? and not rely on the US clouds?
Yeah, from my perspective, what I think the first part is a change of mindset. We have European companies, and we have the products, we have on-premise solutions. And what we right now experience that a lot of companies cannot select the AI threat as an attacker appropriately. Right now, we are measuring a lot of benchmarks and the AI system, and it's also called Project Glasswing from Anthropic with this new Mythos model, but also from OpenAI, the new GPT 5.5. From our intelligence and our benchmarks, it's almost the same in cyber attacks. So I think in Europe, we have to have a really fast mindset change that an AI is attacking. And this is not normally a couple of hours or days. We have lateral movements in seconds and minutes from an AI. They will find something out. We are trying to educate our customers. An AI will find a security event or a CV or something. If there is not a known vulnerability, the AI will create one, because they will go through all different types of source code. And I think this mindset is not really in Europe that an AI is attacking. A human with 10, 20 different terminals is attacking fully autonomously. So, and I think this is for Europe. In America, they already got this a lot of marketing. I think it's in daily news. What is the new Mythos and the new benchmarks. In Europe, normally you cannot find it in any news. And I think there are specialized reports, of course, but for general understanding for companies, normally we show them how the AI, because we have also an attack AI, and they will see that the benchmarks will fall in a couple of seconds. For example, 100 benchmarks, it's falling 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 minute. One benchmark after another, one attack after another, fully autonomously. And I think this is a mindset change, and I think in Europe we are not quite ready for this.
And also, I will look at it from a perspective of a company a little bit more introspectively, and from a perspective of a customer. I think that what we need to still improve and do slightly better is the packaging of the cybersecurity product, because ultimately customers decide based on perceived value, how they see the value of the product. And if I look at our competition specifically, I will look at the US competition. We have competition in France. We have competition in Switzerland, in Norway, I think, Scandinavian competitor. The packaging is what is attractive for most of the banks. And what we see is that the US competitors, especially, are extremely aggressive in go-to-market approach. They are both acquiring companies quite aggressively, because if they have some lack of competency, they are very quickly able to get to it by just buying somebody smaller who is just addressing the issue. And also they make like really well-funded, well-prepared campaign. And from our perspective, where the market is quite concentrated, it's almost like a fight with a lightsaber, basically like a sword fight, because you see the other company and you exactly see which way they are going to strike and what is the competitive angle that we need to take to be basically able to withstand it. We need to do it more smartly, because of course our competitors currently are typically about 100 times or 200 times bigger. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we just need to be smarter and more innovative, more focused in marketing, and basically communicate the value to the customer, so that when they look at competitor from the US and the company from the Czech Republic, they see significantly higher value on the right side of the argument.
And what about company from Czech Republic and company from Austria or Germany? Is there such skepticism like DACH, C? Because in C there are a lot of first-time founders.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's actually tough. The question, if I should rephrase it, does it help that we are a Czech company? Not really, and especially in the beginning, it was quite complicated, because we handle really sensitive topics like payment approvals, access to banking systems, KYC for a new banking customer. So this is really trust driven. Everything is about trust. We cannot make a mistake, because if we make a mistake, a lot of money can be lost. So especially in banking, which is traditionally conservative and a little bit more risk sensitive. It is not easy to say, hey, we are the Czech company. We started as a company of 3 people, and I have no idea why the first bank actually bought the software. They bought it because it was early on. It was 2017, so the mobile apps were still kind of a new thing. So we managed to squeeze into the window of opportunity quite soon. If I was starting the same company today, it would be quite impossible to convince somebody to buy something from the Czech company with 3 people, for example, which is so sensitive. So I would say that market perception still plays a role. I think that higher standards are kind of assumed from companies in DACH region. If you say you are from Switzerland or the Netherlands, it can have some benefit in the beginning, but after some threshold, it doesn't really matter. If we can show our current customer portfolio, which includes major European banks, large fintechs, governments, regulatory bodies, for example, then the difference basically completely vanishes. It's much easier now. So this also goes back to our go-to-market strategy. When we started the company, we didn't immediately go to the UK or to the developed markets, because this would be an impossible strategy. I cannot imagine how this would play out if we showed up in Barclays or Lloyd's or any well-established bank as a company with 10 people maybe. We had to gain some muscles, and then we are able to do it. Our first go-to-market strategy was basically going slightly east to countries like Romania, Albania, Moldova, these are Serbia, and then we were able to get to customers in Switzerland, Finland, France. This was the tactics. Yep.
But I think quite different experience from Austrian company. We never have this. we have offers or drafts for proposals worldwide, and this is never a question. Maybe this is really different from Austria, but we can offer to any country. Normally they just want to get to know us. We are also a really small team with about 7 people, because it's almost what we have is AI. So we don't need that much people, and I think it also slows down if you're too big of an organization. But quite the opposite from Austria. I think Austria has a really good standing worldwide. I think a lot of people already know Vienna, and in the second or third meeting, they always want to visit then Vienna. So I think we have and this is what I talked before. We will not get people to remain in Vienna about the money, but we have to show our strengths. And Vienna and Central Europe, of course, is quite beautiful. And we have to also tell people about this. Our customers worldwide, there was never anything like this.
Yeah, I think maybe about 40% of this is just me whining, just to be very open. But I mean, so when we started the company, the typical competition from a customer perspective was the single guy in the IT organization who was able to do it over the weekend, right? Okay. That's a typical problem in a Central European markets that are less developed than, for example, Austria. That there is quite a high concentration of IT talent. People are able to build a lot of things in-house. At the same time, it's price sensitive, so it's always more complicated to buy externally. So in the first 3 years of our existence, the main competition was internal competition, basically people thinking, yeah, we can buy it in-house. Why? Build it in-house. So, this typically pushes you towards price sensitivity and lower costs. And then with this mindset, you are trying to sell to the UK. It doesn't work. We had to kind of shake it off after the first 3 years of doing business, and now we can go everywhere, of course. But in the beginning, it was not so easy.
Interesting.
I can just totally relate to what you said. At some point, it really doesn't matter, because if you have a large logo of a bank and everyone knows, okay, they need to be DORA compliant, NIS2 compliant. There's so much GDPR, etc., etc. Yeah. So there's so many checks that you need to run through before even get into a procurement process. Then if you have a
customer who is using it.
Exactly, he was using it, and then I think at some point it doesn't matter. And I mean, Vienna is beautiful. Prague is
It's the same. So it's not just Vienna, Budapest, Prague, to name a few, all beautiful cities, not just Vienna.
And I mean, maybe a quick sharing a bit of an experience when we decided to invest into Vultra. Of course, we also talked to our experts in the bank who had already been in contact with Peter and who have already used the product. And here, I think it's even, and in particular in cybersecurity, the technical talent and the expertise and the product and what it really can do matters most, right? Yeah. And the feedback that we got was just stellar, and that's what counted, right? Yes. And in the end, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think in cybersecurity, maybe more than in other areas, product and tech savviness and technology counts.
Yeah, this is maybe one of the drawbacks for cybersecurity, why there are not that many cybersecurity companies, because it's really hard. An attacker can find one intro into your network. As a cyber defense or a cyber security company, you have to be as close as possible, 100%. But right now we have AI technology on the attacker side, but also on the defense side. It's quite different because Anthropic was also hacked. They can really good attack. And I think 3 days later, they were attacked about a Discord channel. So defense is really complicated. And I fully also see this for cybersecurity. You have to have the best talent and you have to have the best AI. And so this combination, I think, could be really also for young people quite attractive. But cybersecurity is hard, and I think it will get more complex. Through AI, it will not get much easier because normally attacking will get easier. And also it will so much on a lower price point. But to defend against all these different types of new attacks, I find it interesting. But I think a lot of young people, maybe it's also a lot because it's changing daily, hourly. So I think.
You mentioned we need to change our mindset, and then everything is on the news in the US. What should be in the news in Europe?
Yeah, I had a podium discussion, I think 1 month ago. I always try to also talk to the company C-level about the what-if scenario. Because normally we have our rules and our playbooks and strategies, and then from my part is, what if? What if there's an AI which can attack in 10 seconds, 2 minutes or something? What if? And normally this what if changes a lot of their playbooks and also their mindset. This is normally how I'm also teaching at the university and on Fachhochschule in Austria. It's a intermediate part also with the Master of Science. And this is always the question I give all my students is a what if scenario. And I think if you start, what if an AI is as smart as you or maybe smarter, works 24 hours, 7 days a week, each day, what can be accomplished? And then you can use it in parallel. And I think just this mindset change is, if this is in 10 times parallel, and it's as smart as you, and it works without a break or holiday or illness or sickness or something, what if?
And I like this what if idea because I think CISOs in large organizations are actually trained in thinking this way, right? Typically, at least those that I met so far. And the big what if that is on the minds of many is currently the buzzword of quantum computing. So in a way, it would basically put AI on steroids, or I don't know how you want to define it, but it's definitely something that could be a game changer. Right? Yeah. And when I talk to people in cybersecurity, they are all talking about, if fraudsters would get their hands on a quantum computer, what if, right? What would we need to do today to protect ourselves against this scenario, right? And here, actually, it was also the discussion with you, Peter, that actually opened my eyes on how urgent this topic actually is. Right? This is a change of mindset.
I think quantum threats are basically difficult to assess using standard metrics, because typically all the risk is kind of incremental, and if you introduce some countermeasure, it incrementally lowers. But quantum is about like when we have a quantum computer, everything breaks down unless we are ready 100%, right? So it's a low probability, currently at this stage, low probability, high complexity, catastrophic impact type of risk. This is really hard from the modeling perspective, because if you invest too early, then you just wasted a lot of effort too proactively against something which is just a science fiction, maybe even won't happen. But if you wait too long, you can get yourself into a position when there is not enough time to actually migrate properly. So, IT departments could be completely blocked by IT transition just for post-quantum. Cryptography is everywhere. So as a result, banks and any organizations will have to replace most of their software and most of their hardware. The rest of the software and hardware would have to be decommissioned. So it's a significant effort in terms of updating, transformation, and so on. So that's really difficult to communicate. We spent some time learning how to do it, and currently we have two strategies on how to talk to organizations about threats like quantum computing and quantum attacks. One category of organizations are basically large enterprises with dedicated departments who are somehow a little bit ahead. And to those, we are basically just going directly into post-quantum cryptography, quantum threats, because they get it. To the rest of the market, we basically search for auxiliary benefits, something else that can solve current problems like phishing or social engineering or AI deepfake attacks or things like that have immediate benefit, and we piggyback post-quantum cryptography on the update. So that's additional benefit. It took us about a year to fine-tune the message actually properly, because that's quite complicated, and we were the first ones to do it. The strange thing is that we are actually the first Czech company that established a new Gartner category on the hype cycle, post-quantum authentication. That's not really something that existed before. We managed to describe it properly and explain all the implication on business. And so when you just join someone else or copy what everybody else is doing, that's much easier. If you have to actually walk the path as the first one, it takes time, it takes energy, and discussions with CISOs in the context of the complexity of the problem versus like how immediate it is versus the cost of the successful attack. It was quite challenging, to be honest. It still is. I think AI is in a slightly better position because nobody doubts that this is transformative, because we can see it very practically. Quantum computers, we don't have them. The strongest quantum computers are still not factoring number bigger than 21. So it's very early. But I always say that one smart idea can change that quite a lot.
And I think also the quantum part, it was also part of my PhD about how to do quantum in semiconductors properly in 2009. So before this quantum started.
No, but it was the same with AI. I remember when I was studying about a decade. Oh my God, I'm old, about a decade earlier.
I just backtracked.
I remember AI was basically this completely failed field. We had specific subjects on AI, but nobody wanted to study it because it was kind of strange to do it. Why would you do it? It already failed in 70s, this was the narrative. But, even investor presentation, I think that if you saw AI on a slide back in 2021, you were asking how many interns are doing the AI, manually classifying data and so on. But today, nobody doubts it. It evolved very rapidly. I think that GPT 3.5 was the eye-opening moment, the breakthrough. And currently, everything is basically somehow affected by AI. So that's somehow easier to explain to CISOs. And there are much more structured programs to address AI threats.
And I think one of the major drawbacks I discuss is with the Technical University in Vienna, physics is not a part in informatics to study. It's normally information technology and mathematics, but not physics. And quantum computing, you need some kind of understanding what quantum is, that you have correlations between particles, that you don't have any time between, and you can always measure something. I think these are the basic things which are missing in the curriculum for the informatics guys. A lot of my employees are also educated by informatics, and you cannot get a grasp of physics just by listening to you. You have to have some basic understanding of physics, especially for quantum computer. Quantum computer is not basic physics. It's one of the most complex parts in physics. And on the other hand, so a lot of people cannot understand what quantum computers can do, how they will really work, and how sometimes I can write a program for them. It's really complicated right now. But on the AI side, I think what we also have seen, I think it was a major breakthrough also for quantum computers the last 7 to 8 years because of this noise reduction, that you already can really get signals out. But on the other part, AI, with this mythos, I think it was the first time since 3 years that we had a major jump, about 20% in some benchmarks. So if you can compare this jump in quantum computing with this noise reduction and signal extraction, you also have this with these new models. And I think for cybersecurity, you have to have some basic understanding of both. One topic is already really complicated for each other. And then you have to have a basic understanding of both, because it will get in some times in the future to you.
Yeah.
As we are approaching the end of our conversation, I would like to finish with 2 quick questions. Is there one area that you would like to point out that Europe could lead globally? You don't have to be too positive, of course, in cybersecurity field.
We could lead.
Yeah.
Lead, yeah. Yes, from my company perspective, we are right now the first company worldwide that we have an AI-assisted SOC for completely security operations center, where an AI will do all the things normally what people will do, faster, fully autonomously. And I think this is right now our pitch, that we want to be recognized also as the world's first, and also to really scale this up from Austria and not from another US or something.
So I mean, the question kind of leads in the direction of promoting what we do, because of course, if I wasn't convinced that we will conquer the world with what we do, why would I do it? That's not possible. So I think, you know, we are, broadly speaking, a company in a digital identity, high assurance digital identity field, with current strong focus on post-quantum cryptography. Long term, it will be basically the most cutting edge type of identity. And I think that there is space for only a handful of companies. And luckily, many of those are already in Europe. If I look at some French companies or Swiss companies, or, you know, I think that we are competing with the rest of the world quite well. And our ambition, of course, is to be on top.
Yeah, and we would love to invest in companies that lead in their field in DACH and Central and Eastern Europe, and help them to grow internationally.